I'm going to share with you some really startling results about how student loans impacted mental health. We did this survey in 2019, and we did this survey again in 2021. The first time we surveyed several hundred borrowers. This time we surveyed over 2,300 borrowers in March of 2021. And this survey is really behind the idea that student loans have this huge impact on mental health that people really don't talk about. So I want to say, before I go any further, this video could trigger sensitive feelings of suicide, depression, and anxiety. So with that said, let's talk about the findings. In 2019, we asked, have you ever had suicidal ideation due to student loans? 1 in 15 people said yes. We asked the same question in March of 2021, and 1 in 14 people said yes. Unfortunately, that's an increase in a year where payments and interest have been paused for 18 months. That is startling. Now, in terms of this audience, it's 2/3 women, 1/3 men. Over 2/3 owe 6 figures of student loan debt. So you would really say this could potentially be a representative of high debt student loan borrowers. I'm not saying that out of all student loan borrowers, 1 in 14 have suicidal ideation. I'm saying among high debt student loan borrowers, ideation appears to be that high. We're also going to do a podcast about this that we'll put in the bio in case you want to go even deeper with the survey results that we found in this. A couple of the key findings from our mental health survey: we found that debt to income ratio was the most important factor for whether or not you had suicidal ideation due to student loan debt. To see why this is the case, people who owed more than double their income in student loan debt, they had suicidal ideation at a rate that was more than 2.5 times as high as people who owed less than what they earned. That's quite a startling result. Other things that we found in this survey: we found that 1 in 8 unemployed people, or people with less than $50,000 of income, had suicidal ideation due to student loan debt. We found that 1 in 6 single women earning less than $50,000 had suicidal ideation due to student loan debt. We also found that programs like public service loan forgiveness had no positive impact on mental health when it comes to student loans. That's pretty startling, because PSLF is a program that forgives your student loan debt tax-free. Yet we saw the same negative impact of a high student debt compared to your income for people in the PSLF situation where they're going for forgiveness versus people that are not even pursuing loan forgiveness, which doesn't really make sense. So that's really telling you that it doesn't matter the way out of your student loan debt that people promise you that happens years from now. What happens is you feel trapped because you're staring at a monster debt, and some people look at that and think, oh my gosh, there's no way out. And that is a debilitating amount of anxiety and depression and hopelessness that can turn into thoughts that are even more serious. We also found that 6-figure income is not a protection against anxiety and depression and even suicidal ideation due to student loan debt. We found 8% of borrowers with 6-figure incomes who owed more than twice their income had suicidal ideation, compared to only 4% of people who owed less than their income. So these results are absolutely startling. There's no other way to say it. What would be some policy implications and maybe things that should change about student loans as a result of this? Based on our findings, it's clearly something that can lower the debt-to-income ratio of borrowers. In this same survey, we found that while 85% of borrowers supported canceling some student loan debt, only 32% of borrowers supported canceling all of it. That's quite remarkable, given that most of the people in this survey had 6 figures of student loan debt. So what does that mean? Borrowers want to pay back their student loans, but they feel like they can't because they're trapped in a corrupt and messed up system that wasn't their fault. Yes, borrowers signed up for the debt, but we have to have veterinarians and chiropractors and physicians and dentists and lawyers. You have to have people in this profession, and the schools are full and well, with their knowledge, taking advantage of really messed up loan systems in a way that benefits and profits them. So some policy implications: you could look at cancellation, you could look at regulating the schools, you could look at maybe holding some of the schools civilly liable for misstatements and fraud that happens on a regular basis when they're trying to convince a doubting student as to whether or not they should attend their school's program given the high cost relative to the earnings. You could look at maybe lowering the interest rates of student loan debt, although with the current state of things, with uncapped borrowing that's allowed by the schools, they would probably take care of any benefit that students got from lowering the interest rates by rising the tuition to make even more money. So that's why we think that you have to have regulation of the schools and responsibility on the part of the schools at least play some role in this. Otherwise, we're just going to be right back in this situation a few years from now. Same thing with cancellation. You could cancel student loan debt, but you've got to look at things that protect future borrowers against abuses by the educational institutions that are supposed to help and protect them and help them get higher earnings that they can actually get a high enough income to pay off the debt. Unfortunately, that's not really happening. The schools are seeing that there's unlimited borrowing allowed, that students can only pay 10% of their incomes, and so for graduate programs at least, why wouldn't you ask people to take out as much as possible so that you can make the maximum profits, students can pay based on their incomes, and that way you don't have to worry about charging the maximum price you can possibly get. So that's a corrupt and broken system where 1 in 14 people with high student loan debt has considered suicidal ideation due to student loan debt. And why is that the case? Why did that terrible statistic increase from 2019 to 2021? It's because the problem continues to get worse, where more and more people every single year are borrowing significantly more than their incomes because of the messed up way the student loan system works. So just as we found debt to income ratio as the primary offender for serious mental health challenges due to student loan debt, we would expect that statistic would get worse and worse every single year until action is taken to stop these out of control debt to income ratios that borrowers are facing due to student loans through no fault of their own. If you at all have ever considered suicide or considering suicide, please reach out to 1-800-273-TALK. That's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You are worth it. Reach out for help if you need it. If your feelings are less severe than that, but there's still anxiety or depression, please reach out to the numerous options out there for online mental health counseling. I've taken advantage of that myself personally, so don't feel ashamed of that. And if you want further resources as to how just student loans cannot make you feel trapped in your life, you can check out the Student Loan Planner podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have additional videos coming out in the month of May celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month so that we can talk about these difficult subjects. And then finally, you can watch our next video, which is 9 effective habits of highly successful student loan borrowers so you don't feel like student loan debt needs to hold you back. Thank you for watching.